Live now. Three, two, and
Good afternoon to everybody. I welcome you all to A-Sketch EduCon 2020. This is Ilesh Vidul from Semester 5 of RVS Padmavati School of Architecture, Chennai. So before we move on to our topic, we have a few important announcements. This event is a proprietary to A-Sketch EdTech Foundation. Everything shared here is confidential and proprietary. Sharing, copying, reproduction, distribution, and or recording, as well as screen captures without written consent is prohibited. Conse- Contents and discussions are also considered confidential. Please ask the questions using the link shared. We will answer all the questions at the end of the session. Thank you. Today, we are really glad and pleased to welcome a very special person, Professor Architect Sathya Prakash Varanashi. Architect Sathya Prakash Varanashi is a down to earth person who studied architecture in Bangalore, urban design in Delhi, and heritage conservation in England. He is a person who is greatly involved in various aspects like academics, outreach activities, freelance writing, professional associations, and NGO initiatives. Presently, Architect Sathya is a consulting architect of his firm, Sathya Architects, based in Bangalore, involved in designing low cost, effective, and efficient eco friendly buildings. Just like water, which is an element of nature which finds its own way, nature has its own way of designing, building, and creating forms from a long way back in time than humans have begun. The major difference is natural forms grow in the context, while human needs are built up in a given context. The one time construction that we follow is the thing that differentiates us from the nature, which follows slow evolution. However, architect Sathya Prakash Varanashi strongly believes that sustainable architecture towards nature can be achieved with time and patience towards it. And today, he will be sharing his expert views on designing to sustain architecture with ecology. Now, I kindly request you, architect Sathya Prakash Varanashi, sir, to take over this session to expertise.
Thank you, Ilesh, and also thank you, Ibrahim, for all this great initiative at a young age. When I was in my third year, I don't think I got as much exposure in organizing, or when I was in my fifth year, I never got this kind of exposure in organizing anything. So you're all getting it in your third year, Nilesh, and your final year, Ibrahim. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
So this presentation, of course, thanks to our cursing corona, COVID, whatever, ideally it should have happened across the actual hall where we're all able to sit together and look at each other and talk and joke and be jovial about it. Unfortunately, it's not possible. Doesn't matter. At least this is what one can attempt. What we are going to, typical, I would say, what you're going to discuss. Now I'm saying what I'm going to share is largely based out of my own thinking, but I have no copyright to what I'm saying or what I have done. It's all in two parts. There are some text slides, then there are some, uh, I will be starting screen sharing now. So it's all in, basically, there are two components in this. So one is texts. Within the slide, there will be texts, and the other one, there are photographs. The photographs are taken from our office architecture, whatever we have done. And of course, Neelesh spoke about how in nature, the it grows, and in our case, we built. Even our office also we have built. There's nothing which has grown, so there is no comparison to nature and what we are doing in our office. No way. But yes, we can imbibe it in some way, and so that I think to that extent will help. I'm going to switch off my video. Is it okay, no, Nilesh? Ilesh, I'll remove my video, or you want me to keep the video on?
Uh, Anything to your comfort is totally fine, sir.
Okay, let it be there then. It will be in the corner. Just push it to a corner. If anybody is watching it with the face, let it be there.
Yes, sir.
And those of you are interested, Most of the photographs which I'm going to show here, you'll also find, we don't have a website. We don't have a website. Where you'll find it in a blog spot, which is there in the third line, satyaconsultants.wordpress.com. Please feel free. It says 401, but now it is 405 essays on eco-friendly architecture. It's actually more than eco-friendly architecture. There are a lot of articles on eco-friendly living, climate change, IPCC, Conference of Parties, global warming, and many other. Then there are some other talks, DESHA Forum. Again, it's a YouTube channel, and there's a TED talk, so some of them, Godrej Interior, some Google entries. Please feel free whenever you have the time to know more about the subject from what we have learned. See, I have also my own limitations in what we have learned. We have learned something over the last 27 years of our office consultancy line, plus also some 33 years of teaching. So whatever one has picked up, you'll be seeing. There's also my email ID given. I always encourage people to write. It's not that one will be able to write back to everybody. Sometimes, some emails are provoking and one feels like writing back. So feel free to write at my email ID, Varanashi, @gmail.com. The I assume many of you sitting or listening to this are young, and many of you may not know much about sustainability. Incidentally, the word sustainability is not one of the best words, but that's what everybody is now using. So when we say sustainability, it is meant that we are creating a more continuity of civilization, resource consumption to be reduced, energy to be efficiently used, and many more. However, sustainability also can be used in a way which is difficult to understand, but I won't go into that. But do remember this much: sustainability is not the best of the word for what we are looking at. And this word sustainability has been used everywhere. Some of you might have heard of this: sustainable cities, sustainable agriculture. For example, the organic farming has come out of the so-called sustainable agriculture to some extent. And in Sanskrit and in many other Indian languages, this word could also be said as susthira. Sthira means stability, susthira, stability for the sake of good of everybody. Now there are certain words, and one thought, in case if some of you have not heard this, so the whole debate, whole question about this unsustainable, unstable living started with the Industrial Revolution. So we are actually looking back in time by around 200, 250 years. It's surprising to know that, for the whole of the universe, which is supposed to have had the Big Bang, going by the Big Bang theory, 15 billion years ago, it was supposed to, the universe has come into existence by the Big Bang theory. And roughly around 200,000 years ago, our species, Homo sapiens, came about. Roughly around 70, 80,000 years ago, the Homo sapiens from the African continent moved to the Asian, to India as well. And what did not happen for 200,000 years has happened now in 200 years because of the Industrial Revolution and the way we all are living. We all are living today with technology, gadgets, science, innovation, artificiality, conditioning, instruction. I mean, I can go on like this. I won't go too deep into it now. Then there is there's industrial production. There is a whole matter of this. I'll go through very briefly for those of you who are interested in the subject. The global economy. Helena Hodge, who wrote this fantastic book called The Ancient Futures, and now she is trying to promote a movement called Economics of Happiness. She says it's a paradox. Nagpur apple coming to Bangalore, this example is mine. Nagpur apple coming to Bangalore, Nagpur to Bangalore apple is costlier than Chinese apple coming to Bangalore. So she says, how is it possible? How can a local produce be costlier compared to something which is coming from, maybe 20,000 or 30,000 kilometers away? This is what the globalization has done. It also has led to a lot of consumption and wastage. If I were to ask you this question, if you would have been in the auditorium, How many of you are using the first mobile phone your parents gave you? I'm sure there would be few people raising their hand saying we are using the first mobile phone. But quite a many may say that, sir, we are using the second or third or fourth or fifth mobile. And in one student's meeting, I asked the question, and somebody said he was using the ninth mobile within passing out of architecture. This was lot of consumption, lot of wastage. I have now come to my native place here. So it's about 65, 70-year-old house in the coastal Karnataka. I'll be back in Bangalore on Monday. We still have a clock which is roughly 45-year-old still being used. One of the ceiling fan which is running here has been there right from the time this house was electrified roughly about 55 years ago. Roughly about 53, 54, 52, 55 years ago, this house got electricity, and since then there is one ceiling fan still running. Many of the switches are the same old switches. The landline phone, once you buy, it will be there for a long time. Mobile, the landline phone which I purchased when I made my own house, our own house in Bangalore, 16 years ago, we still use the same landline phone even today. 16 years. Consumption and wastage. Look at what's happening. Anyway, renewable energy, some of you might have been hearing, the way we are consuming energy, they all will one day vanish. Greenhouse gas emission is important. There are certain, I won't go deep into it. Please study all this if you're interested. So there are certain kind of energy consumption. The one next to it also important, biomass depletion. It leads to what we call as a greenhouse gases. And greenhouse gases lead to ozone layer depletion. And the ozone layer depletion means the harmful rays will come into the earth. It becomes global warming. So we are nowadays going through global warming from the pre-industrial production time to now. The globe has already got warmed up 1.1 degrees. And we're already seeing so many of these climatic disasters because of this. And when it should rain, it doesn't. You see mango in the season which is not. We may enjoy, wow, mango in this season. The tree is confused. The tree doesn't know when to produce mango. That's what we are doing to the earth. Global warming. And look at the number of natural disasters. Earthquakes, floods, tsunamis. Every year they are increasing. And also the inequitable development. The rich are becoming richer, but poor are becoming poorer. There's one word which is often used as carbon footprint. This is to check what is one person's personal consumption of the energy, carbon footprint, CFP. There's another word called embodied energy, which is more to do with the building construction industry. I mean, you can use it anywhere, but of course, we as architects, let's use it for construction industry. So the sum total energy which material consumes, right from the extraction, processing, transportation, construction, and one day when it becomes demolition, the total energy which material consumes. So one of the ways of designing a sustainable building is to have a building with the least of embodied energy. To do that, we should use more of natural materials. Manufactured materials have very high embodied energy. So the moment we minimize, our buildings are more eco-friendly. Then of course we have green buildings. The green buildings are not sustainable, but the word is pretty popular today. And of course we have climate change, which all of us have heard of. Some of you might have heard of this. We are in the age of extinction. And as many people say, including the human race, Homo sapiens, you and me, not you and me as living today, but Homo sapiens as a species on this earth, possibly on their way to extinction. Why is it happening? Look at this. I mean, we are all natural beings, right? You and I are product of nature. So we are part of the nature. But what we learn from nature is that we are not learning from nature. Today I was just going through an interesting book called The Sacred Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And the first edition came out in 2005, second edition in 2015. And he says how many millions have watched the webinar on that, how many millions have been sold. Then he says 10 years down the line, because so many millions have watched, so many million copies have been sold, he says, have people changed? He asks a question in the new editorial. Just today I read the article. Then he says, not much. So, despite millions of people watching and reading the book, the author himself felt people have not changed much. We have to ask questions. Why? Anyway, so human civilization, like every other living biome, flora, fauna, we are also largely a culture, a civilization determined by climate. Interestingly, we can still feel this climate determined culture in many parts of India, in remote areas, but most parts of India, cities included, we all have a new culture of living. And this new culture of living is not the climate induced culture, unfortunately. And it's because the new culture of living, which we have now trying to promote. Oh, incidentally, let me tell you about a approach. I'm not really reading out what is on the screen. Only just talking general. Maybe some parts of it could be on the screen, some may not be. Some of you may find it a little difficult to be able to listen and see. But anyway, this will be recorded. So if any of you feel any time, you can go back and see the recorded version. This is what I've been told. So one of the major reason in the last 200, 250 years why we have not been living with climate and culture is simply because technology. Incidentally, personally, I am slightly anti-technology. If one has to use technology, I use very low technology. But living without technology is very tough. I've realized it. And they started right from the earliest days of the human beings. So we believe that agriculture has been among the first few damages we started doing to the earth. Agriculture. And in the recent years, air conditioning, air travel, automobile, they all are the killers of the earth. But if I tell you people this, that air conditioning, automobiles, air travel is killing the earth, you will see, sir, but Satya, but everywhere it's increasing. So how can you say so? All over air conditioning is increasing, cars are being sold in larger numbers, and everybody is flying across. That may be the fact, but the reality is that they're killing the earth. Now, there are certain words which are put here for sake of those who are keen to know more about all this. Some of these words you might not have heard of. Lotic and lentic is about water. Pedology, mineralogy. Exogenic, endogenic is about energy patterns. Sewage, of course, all of us know. And also, I think this pests and pollutants also. All of you know. Toxicology, you may be knowing. All this paint with which every other building is finished. They're all chemical paints, and they have what is called as VOC, volatile organic compound. So, and we live inside buildings with high degree of toxic contents. And there's a word called indoor air quality, IAQ. Someday you can look into what IAQ is. Okay, finally, the last word in this is climate crisis. So all these words are important for us if you have to understand more about eco-friendly architecture. You and I may be only designing, but it's important to know the background to why we should design in a more sensible and sensitive way. One of the major reasons is steel and cement, the two most commonly used construction materials today, contribute up to 15% of the global warming. So indirectly, 15% of climate change is caused by just two materials. And there are more: glass, aluminium, plastics, these VOC based products, different kind of synthetic materials, polymers, manufacturing materials. So construction industry, where you and I belong to, contributes roughly one third. I've just written as 30% to be on the safer side, but it's up to one third of the greenhouse gas emission. And but look at this, it's such a terrible thing to say that up to one third of the climate change is caused by your profession and my profession. And what are you doing about it? What am I doing about it? Forget our lifestyle. We may buy and sell laptops, we may buy mobiles, we may travel, we may go on a cruise ship, we may do all that, but the basic profession we are getting into is killing the earth. And we think we are creating, and we think we are constructing. My dear young friends, we are not creating, we are destroying. My dear young friends, we are not constructing, we are on a destruction path. And we are contributing to it as architects. I'm not saying we can stop it. There are some more words here you can see. I'm not trying to say that we can change something radically, but It's possible to make a small contribution towards being eco-friendly and trying to say that, okay, I have given my little squirrel service. In Ramayana story, there is about a squirrel. When the monkeys and Ram was building the bridge across Indian peninsula to the Sri Lanka, one squirrel comes and it starts to rolling in the wet mud, puts it in the bridge, comes back, rolls, goes back. Sorry, dips itself in the sea, comes back with the wet skin, puts it. And somebody says, look at this squirrel. But Rama identifies it. He says, Alilu Seve in Kannada we say. Even that squirrel is contributing few grains of mud to building the bridge, however few it is. You and I can contribute our few little grains towards reducing climate change. I know people laugh at me if I say, Satya, what do you mean? They will laugh at me saying, how can you reduce climate change? Maybe I can reduce climate change by 1 trillionth of whatever it is. But it's important. Okay. These are some of the global efforts. I won't go deep into it. The latest one is called Fridays for Future, which is not in this. This was done before that by Greta Thunberg, the Earth Institute, Earth Summits, Earth Scan, Commonwealth. Some of these are books like the Ecological Debt. Some of them are publishers like the Island Press. Some of them are thoughts like the Sacred Economics or Economics of Happiness. Some of them are living experiments like the Orwell in India. Some of them are theories like degrowth. I won't go deep into it, but if any of you are interested, someday please look up at these. There's a list of books here, starting from the 1962 epoch-making book, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, one of the early books to talk about the environmental degradation we are causing. And there is also one by a very famous philosopher of America called Alan Watts, Does It Matter? And Alan Watts widely read the Eastern philosophies, Zen, Hinduism, Buddhism, and all he read. And he was influenced by the Eastern philosophies. And he says, all that we are doing, why are we doing it? End of the day, why are we doing? What are we doing? And he says, does it matter? Artificial intelligence, does it really matter? Driverless cars, does it matter? Biofabrication, does it matter? Every other thing we are doing, if Alan Watts would have been alive today, he would have asked, does it really matter? Do we need them to live happily and content in our lives? Eckhart Tolle talks of consciousness. Do we need all this to lead a life of happiness and content and consciousness? Nobody knows. But human race is on this big rat race. Well, there are many other books. I won't go into it. But the sustainability was the word which by and large came about by the sixth book there called Our Common Future. It was by Brundtland Commission back in 1987. So you can just remember that I've also written that Helena Hodge book, Ancient Futures. Some books in this list are became very famous. Now, I was telling there are some texts, then some visuals, again texts and again visuals. Now, what can we do? These 5 are the design principles we use in our office. Letting the building breathe, just like our body. Light, air, space. Minimizing manufactured materials. One discussed earlier about the embodied energy. So basically go with natural materials. That's what it means. As much as possible. Beauty by materiality. Every material has a kind of an aesthetics and aspiration. Inspired by the vernacular. Tradition, climate, the culture, folk practices, vernacular practices, much to learn. The vernacular practices by default have been sustainable, efficient ideas at efficient cost. I'm not going to explain much of the visuals, so it will just run through a little faster, grasp as much as you can. But I may just say that left side is mud wall, right side is hollow clay block, and top is pot filler slab. And on the top left, you can see certain hollow. That's the displacement ventilation for hot air to escape. That's a small house elevation. Okay, this was in a school in Salem, a Montessori school. This is a house in Bangalore in 30 by 40 site, what in Tamil Nadu they call as half ground. So these are 30 feet wide elevation of the house. The plan itself becomes elevation. Materials create the aesthetics. Projected planes, recessed planes, solid, void, perforation, color, texture, they all together make different kind of a proportion. You can see the tall window there. So they make the elevation instead of doing an elevation for sake of doing an elevation. We don't work on elevations. The elevation has to emerge from the design itself. And these windows are in three part: lower part for light, the middle part for lower part is normal window. Middle part is for light when the curtain is pulled, and there is an opening here inside which takes the hot air out to keep the house cool, passive cooling. And all the natural materials create a passive cooling inside, and zero life cycle cost, no maintenance, and special aesthetics and elevation and attraction. That's a pavilion in another house. Here we have got rammed earth load-bearing columns, and these are the vaulted jali roofs. There's a fish pond on top. This is even when we are working with mangrove tiles, we can still make it attractive. Stagger them, pull them up, place them in different positions, create junctions, create disjunctions. It can be exciting. There's a small house interior, the puja room. On the right side is a sliding folding door. So when you open it, the whole house becomes, the inside outside get connected. That's another house with a very traditional look. That's a house with a sliding folding door, and you can see the inside outside getting connected. Wall hollow clay block, red oxide flooring. That's catenary arch. There's a catenary arch here with a perforated wall, jali wall. And on the right side is the colored rammed earth wall. And on top, we have got potted ceiling. This is a very old house, about 18-year-old now. You can see open riser staircase, hollow clay block, curved walls. We use a lot of curves. Skylights. That's what was called as a contemporary house, but using our traditional ideas and eco-friendly features. But stylistically, somebody called it as contemporary, though I personally don't endorse to that word. There's a farmhouse, as much as possible natural, minimum steel, minimum concrete, minimum glass, and zero aluminum, of course. That's a house with a courtyard inside. You can see the light coming in. That's another farmhouse with all natural material, mud block, stabilized mud block, soil cement block, stone. Inside is only mangrove tile roof. It has got jack arch roof and some other features. There's a school in a rural area with large arches, massive 20 by 25 feet span, rooms without RCC columns, but reinforced brick columns. Okay, now let's come back. So one of the problem in designing these kind of buildings is this. Suppose if you look at ecology and economy, today the vitrified tile is very popular. I'm against it. We are against it in our office. Vitrified tile comes damn cheap, but it is terrible for the earth. Terrible. But then when somebody comes, how do we convince them? Saying, please don't use vitrified tile because it's the lowest cost material. So we have to struggle in this. The other problem we face is we go on changing and changing and changing. From thatch roof, we have got tile roof, mud roof to metal pots, stone to iron tools. So the whole story of human civilization has been one where we so-called change, so-called progress. Now, whether it's progress, I have no idea. But there is an urge in the human society, hence it becomes very difficult to design with nature and the science time. And all these, along with the so-called cheapest price, there are a lot of other paradoxes we have to face. You might have seen how PVC water tanks have overtaken good old brick tanks. But in our office, we still continue using brick tanks because PVC tanks are manufactured, marketed, sold. There's a big cycle of people, they have to earn money. So slowly over the time that takes over the ordinary simple brick tanks. Nobody is promoting brick tanks. Nothing wrong with them, but nobody is promoting them. So promotion becomes the mode of popularity. So it goes on. And even the plastic carry bags, unless, where is that? Yeah, this was the second one. Mineral water bottles. Everybody knows what harm is creating to the earth. How many of us have stopped buying mineral water, plastic bottles? We haven't. Most of us haven't. Anyway, so all these when we are looking at, and if you walk into any one of the posh, flush interiors, if this conference would have been held in one of those auditoriums, there would have been 100, 200 new products compared to what was 100 years ago. Carpet, chairs, mic system, projection, AC, acoustic materials, all kinds of things would have been new. Everything would have been new in a posh auditorium. But does it mean we are 100 times more intelligent or content or any compared to 100 years earlier? No, we are not. So very often, this is what matters. Sometimes we really wonder, why are we doing all this? Why do you have a million products? Now look at this. It's a traditional courtyard in a house, but of course contemporized and modernized. So we can, I'm not trying to say let us come back to the same old idea. Okay, this is a little fine looking, refined, this may be rustic. But the point is they all are rooted in something which has as uh, proven itself as ecologically sensitive, long lasting, durable, less maintenance, and all these natural materials vibrate better with our body. All of us are born with certain vibrations. There's also another system called geo-bioelectromagnetic vibrations. You can type it in the email, in the internet. Just type Dr. Hartman's grid, energy grids, BIM grids, BM grids. You'll get it. So what's happening today, the way we are living, our body is not vibrating positively with the kind of architecture we are living with. In a house like this, our body will vibrate better because everything is naturally here, or majority is naturally here. But then sometimes we are not. This is a building we had to do in Punjab, and we couldn't work with our normal materials. So here we used climatic principles, mutually shaded walls, micro shaded dana finish, kapi finish on the textured finish on the walls. I mean, a couple of other things we did here. There's an open air theater. There's a series of developers villas, nearly row housing, but we made no two buildings are alike, and every building had a dozen plus ecological principles. So it's possible to do it. It's not impossible. Inside a house, now there's a courtyard. The courtyard opens into the house. So when it and is a secured courtyard. So when it rains, one can even come out and sit here and enjoy the rain. Sit here and get vitamin D by sitting in the sun. Anything is possible. One of the house interiors, another house from outside. What I mean to say is not that we should not do anything modern. For example, in this, the top jack arch roof is not very traditional to some extent, yes, but the staircase is completely modern. The way we use materials inside and outside, exposed without plastering, is modern. So it's not that one has to do only traditional things. Even the way this courtyard becomes part of the house, it's an internalized courtyard. So all these approaches are possible. And so it's not that one should go back to tradition. No. We should synthesize tradition and modernity, past and present, the folk and the fancy to some extent, if I may say so. Folk and the fancy. Sounds very nice. But then why are we into all that we are doing? You all have heard this word. Necessity is the mother of invention. And I simply wrote down affordability is the father of consumption. Today we can afford. There is money. Today we can access. We can, and we have desire. We have intention and international global business. My grandparents could not fly. They could not have afforded it. The flights were far and few then. My father could fly. Accessibility was there, but he rarely took a flight. It was so damn costly. He couldn't have afforded to go by flight, though it was accessible. Today, we have the desire, we have the access, we have the affordability, we have the intention, and we are global citizens. Forget the world. World may not survive, isn't it? And so this whole thing we are doing, we are indifferent to ecology. And today, if you're indifferent to ecology, one day ecology will be indifferent to us. It's already happening. Every year, at least one or two parts in India go through major floods. Ecology is indifferent to us already and is only bound to increase, not reduce. And as we know, because I was saying it in a different way, he was talking of creation. Act of construction is an act of destruction. Everything that we do. So we can't totally stop what we are doing. We only can minimize. After all, if you look at architecture, right from the earliest days, we were doing buildings for enclosing space. Look at these four headings. Every other thing that we do in a house, largely I'm saying, can come under these four headings. Enclose space, enable activity, ensure utilities, and achieve happiness. So the basic need of a house has not changed much. So why are we changing so much about the way we design? What is the way out? So these are the 10 paths to sustainability. As architects, some of these are more important. Some of them at the end, philosophy, theory may not be only as architects as a profession. I have no time to read it out, but please make a note of this later on when you get a chance. So the design should look at air, light, heat, humidity. Building should look at material construction regulations. So somewhere down the line, we should look at tradition, products, market economy, policies, and all of them. Some more slides. So these are all some different systems with which we work, arches and different way of doing it. It could be stylistic. This is a slightly a Kerala style building in Bangalore using stabilized mud blocks, and a lot of other alternative ideas are there. Now, is this a modern building or is it a traditional building? It's difficult to say. So we are into hybrid architecture. We synthesize, we combine. This is a Kalyan Mandap in Tiruvarur, 40 feet span without AC. Anybody else would have done a big RCC roof or a metal sheet roof with false ceiling and air conditioning. We worked on clay roof for 40 feet span. Another clay roof concept, jack arch roofs, red oxide below. So this is Attangudi. And oh no, this is red oxide, sorry. And hollow clay block. This is a recent one we have just completed, nearly completed. Cob on the lower part is a cob wall, 6-inch thick. This is wattle and daub, the brick with the bamboo lattice, and it's already finished. The roof is done. It's finished with a stone slab on top. So it's a complete and brick supports. So it's completely radically alternative architecture, going back into maybe few thousands of years, the way people built, maybe 3, 4, 5,000 years ago. That's another farmhouse, looks like an earth ship. There's a curved rammed earth wall with a curved, two-way curved hooded roof. But this is an ultra modern, something nobody has ever seen, such unique structure. And then we also have worked on this kind of very traditional looking houses. Pumukham, as is called in Kerala, or Balkau, or in our Karnataka state, we call it as a Mukhamantapam. And inside there is a courtyard, a lot of traditional principles embodied. But then this tradition also can look visually very exciting as entrance to a house. Jali roofs, tinai, seats, stone, bricks. It can be very, very exciting way to enter a house. Or we may make an elevation by only materiality, color, texture, proportion, design, element, style, etc. etc. What is elevation in this? There's no elevation in this. Or the whole thing is elevation. And we didn't do any elevation drawing as such. We work on it very intrinsically and let it evolve. There's another house interior. That's something about some of the design principles. This was about vernacular. That's about compound wall, parapet walls. That's about grey water harvesting. Now coming to the last part. So we are all now living in, most of us, we don't know, we are living in a very conditioned life, very manufactured life, very instructed life. We think we are free. No. Most of what we do, you and I do, can be today predicted. The lifestyle has become so predictable, which was not possible for our grandparents. Somebody who lived in Telangana or Andhra or Kerala or Ladakh or Lucknow or Karnataka, they live differently. Today, most of us live the same life, isn't it? So what's happening today is that our life is controlled by all these politico-economical solutions, transports, machines, and of course, the whole idea of the production, consumption, etc. So end of the day, everything is contributing to the climate change. And I use a word called PRC, personal resource consumption. Month to month, year to year, decade to decade, if I can reduce my personal resource consumption, keep a tab on it in the mind how to do this. And it's possible. And many of these seemingly are impossible. This is still impossible. Building without electricity, if it's possible, that building will be absolutely eco-friendly. Buying without packaging, cooking without unseasonal food, imagining without images. Your generation, my generation today is flooded by images. We all live life to reach an image which is already formed here by the media and the whole world globalization. We are not leading, I'm not doing my life. I'm living a life created by these images. Now, but then is it possible? All these, whatever is written here, personally, one has experimented. I'm not saying everywhere I've been a success, but largely some success, some failures. But all these, think before throwing, Rethink before buying. Assess the don'ts and wants of the body. Use every object till the end of its economic and ecological and functional life. It could be a bag, it could be your shoes, it could be a bike. Every one of them has three lives. Don't throw it unless all the three lives are fulfilled. Observe how we spend more than how we earn. Living by the available, not expecting the desirable. Some of these principles you'll also be able to hear if you log into YouTube and go to DESHA, DESHA, DESHA forum videos. A couple of these are there. Think eco impact before acting and minimize on the A to Z. What is this A to Z I'm talking about? Now, all these, this slide was done before Corona times. And when I wrote this, myself thought, Satya, you are just writing some crazy things. You are saying you should minimize, minimize, minimize air conditioning, building construction, conferences, dining out, globalization, internet, etc. Internet. And during the lockdown, it happened. All this reduced, except, of course, electricity did not reduce, internet did not reduce, but refrigeration partly reduced. So lot many things reduced. So it only shows that if there is a reason, if there is survival question, if there is a force, we will be able to we will be able to live a life minimizing all this. And that will be the path. Now, this is the path of unsustainability, but that will be the path of sustainability. But then what is important as architects? This is the last slide. As architects, what is important? We should get into eco design. And I've been saying it for 27 years now. And very deep into it, very deep into it. Hardcore believer is saying that we should design with ecology, for ecology, of ecology. Hardcore believer in that. And we don't do conventional buildings in our office at all. We simply say, sorry, we work on a project only and only if it's cost effective, if it's climatically conforming, and if it's culturally appropriate. These are the three guiding principles of the office. But merely designing a building is not enough. We all have to live eco-friendly. Because you and I, all of us are causing resource consumption. We are causing greenhouse gas emission. We are causing climate change. So if I am causing climate change, I have to be the solution to it. There's no point being a hypocrite saying, oh, that should be done, this should be done, MNCs blame them, government blame them. No point blaming them. I got to blame myself for the climate change happening around. And if I can do something for it, I should do, you should do. Thank you very much for this patient hearing. I'm done.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. I really believe that sustainable architecture in every aspect is the current need for a better and a safer future world.
Yes.
So, all those things that you've showed, all the RCC, instead of the RCCs, you've used rammed earth load bearing columns, and you've made huge spans, like you were able to construct huge spans using clay and Bangalore tiles, and you were able to create different patterns using those. So those were really interesting and exciting to see and know, sir. So, and particularly, like, these are not the things that we see every day, like.
Very true. And wherever I have done some presentation, see, we don't have a website. So most people don't know what we do unless they go to the blog spot and read in the blog. But there are 405 articles, people don't have patience. So most occasions when I made a presentation of what you're doing, many people said, Satya, we've not seen much of this. But in Bangalore, there are many other firms, Biome, Made in Earth, Vernarch,
Yes,
now
sir.
Tropic Response and Come Tropic Responses, right? Inspire. There are a couple of firms in Mumbai. There are a couple of firms in Bangalore where, they are trying to do the alternative. I should
Yes.
thank them. I should remember them. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And so now we'll be moving on to the question and answering part.
Yes.
So let us try to answer all of the questions, sir, because they are really interesting and good to know. Or, yeah. So the first question would be,
Yes.
should every sustainable building be vernacular?
Oh, no, no. Good question. See, there are sources of information we can pick up. And vernacular is one of the source from where we can pick up how to design a building for eco-friendliness. So need not be vernacular. No.
Okay,
So it
sir.
can be hybrid. So we
Okay.
can synthesize. It can be hybrid. So we can bring the old and the new.
Yes,
There were
sir.
some slides of that kind in the presentation.
Yes, sir. Got it. So the second question would be, how this pandemic has turned everything towards like with respect to architecture towards sustainability. So I believe that you have answered this in the last part of
Sorry,
your
no,
session.
not yet. Pandemic has not promoted more and more sustainable architecture yet. No, not yet. So every other consultancy firm is carrying on with their normal practice. So if because we are in this eco-friendly architecture, we are doing our bit. But other firms who are not into this, they are just continuing the way they have been.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Just one sec, give me one sec. I have to close a door
Sure.
here.
Sure, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So one more question would be like, so when it comes to how much are the requirements of the clients met when they opt for vernacular or a hybrid? So is there anything that the clients are not satisfied with when they opt this
Very good question. You see, what
type of
happens when we
construction?
start a consultancy line, the first few projects are the challenge. We have been very lucky in Bangalore to have started bang off with Lorry Baker ideas, rat trap bonds, natural bricks exposed, hoodie roofs, and many other such ideas. And as people started coming, we could showcase what we already done with natural building processes. So by 96, 97, we had our stuff stabilized mud block house. We had jack arch by around the same time. So like this, we were hollow clay block came in around 1998 or so into our office. Stone we started using right from 93, 94, I would say. So what happened with this, we could showcase our earlier projects, and that really helped a lot. But yes, initially it takes a little time. So we got to tell them, and we run this. We run an elaborate slideshow the moment everybody comes, and it's a no commitment to it mutually. So they need not come back to us. We tell them very clearly, and we may not take up their project very clearly. They are open to take this course virtually. It's like 1.5 2 hours we spend explaining eco-friendly architecture, materiality, construction systems, the climatic principles. Since you're asking, I'll just say this. Our office has 6 basic core competences. Plan making, which is very important. Very important is plan making. Then we have materiality, construction systems, climatic principles, heat, dust, glare, water, humidity, etc. Then we have ecological principles, recyclability, embodied energy, passive cooling systems, life cycle cost, etc. Then we have experience and perception. So we tell all this in the first meeting to all the people who come. So some of them get converted, well, some don't, and they don't come back.
Hmm. Okay, sir. So there is one more question like, how to stick to our traditions and origins yet practice contemporary?
You practice, my dear young student, it will come to you.
Okay, sir.
Some of these things cannot be explained. It happens in life.
Okay, sir. So we have a core team member who would like to ask you a question. So this will be the last question.
Yes,
So
please.
do you believe in the possibility to find a harmony between natural materials and traditional methods with technology and mass production?
Yes and no. Depends on what material we are looking at. For example, stabilized mud block can have mass production. Today they are doing interlocking stabilized mud blocks, interlocking soil cement blocks. There are many happening in Kerala. Karnataka has picked up, and there are machines, they make it as mass production. So there are depends. Rammed earth cannot be mass produced. It is an in situ construction system.
Yes. Yes, sir. So the whole session was really indeed very thoughtful to go through such an enlightening process towards sustainable architecture. And I would also like to put a note to the unanswered questions. So all these answered would be sent to you, would be sent to sir by email, and they would be displayed in our website and Instagram page.
Sure, anytime.
Yes.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share some of the little bit of, it's not really most of it, but a little bit of our office journey across the last
Actually,
27
we
years.
thank you very much for your great experience to be shared, sir. Like, we really need such kind of meetings and such information to be given from great experts like you, sir, particularly on these topics and for the betterment of the future.
Thank you. All best to
Uh,
everybody.
I'm so sorry to interrupt in between, sir. Sir, we have a core team member, Arvind, who would like to personally ask you a question.
Ask him to come here. Ask him to
Arvind,
come here.
have you?
I'm in a remote village. Ask him to come here.
Okay. I mean, on the internet, he wants to ask you right now, sir.
I know.
Okay, I get you, sir. Arvind, are you there?
Yes, I am here, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arvind, and I'm from third semester, and I'm from JNIS College from Hyderabad.
Yes, Arvind. Go ahead.
So my question was, you were talking about the concept, right, sir? The importance of the concept. But many of the faculty and many of the students as well don't concentrate on the concept. They'll directly go with their floor plans and then come up with the concept. So what do you want to suggest the students in the way of convincing the concept first and then going through the plan?
Arvind, have you ever made tea or coffee in your house?
Yes, sir.
Does it matter whether you put the sugar first or milk first?
No, sir, it really doesn't matter.
See, each person has their way of reacting. One faculty may believe in concept and then design. Somebody else may say, no, ठीक है, we know that आप ये हैं, थोड़ा plan दिखाओ यार, पहले plan देखेंगे. Somebody may say that. Somebody may say, पहले मुझे 3D दिखाओ, SketchUp दिखाओ, form दिखाओ, massing दिखाओ. So each faculty has their way of dealing with this. So finally, end of the day, what is important is that it should be there somewhere. That's it. What is important, whether it is said or unsaid, doesn't matter really. As I was talking in the morning session, even with our clients, most often we don't talk concept. We don't, because they don't understand it sometimes, or their mind will get distracted. So we just don't. We just go in. But we have a concept. We have an idea. So it's like that basically. As a designer, see, design is, I've also to just let me add one more line to what our great moderator this morning, Mahesh Mangad, I don't know whether he's listening. I wanted to tell him that he has done a great job. So Mahesh was saying that concept is not discrete. Well, my addition to that line is this. Concept is discrete. Design is direct. Concept is discrete and design is direct. So it has to be there somewhere. But if the concept is also direct, nothing wrong in that. Analogy. Design by analogy, the concept becomes direct. I have no time to explain some other day.
So the many of the faculty and the professors, they mainly sit on the word concept before we start anything. They wanted us to go through it, but they won't allow us to explain them in after the planning or in after the several process.
Well, Arvind, when you become a faculty, maybe you should talk to your students. What do they think? The student versus faculty or students and faculty conflicts are always there. There are certain limitations with which all this happens.
Okay, sir.
So thank you so much, Arvind. Thank you so much, Sathya sir. Sir, we have one more student from our core team. Her name is Hetvi. So she would also like to ask you a question. So this will be the last question of the session.
Ibrahim, look at the watch. So I wound up at 3:25, which was the time given. But I know question answer would take time. Yes, please go ahead. No issues. I am free.
Good evening, sir. This is Hetvi. I'm from 7th semester and I'm doing architecture from Marwadi University, Gujarat. So my question was, I've been always interested in vernacular architecture. I've been trying to do my designs in REMDUT, Adobe and all, but it's always tough for me to make my faculties understand that I want to do that, because they prefer always RCC frame structure and all such things. And rather than that living sustainable lifestyle, you said that we put small steps by not buying plastic things and not reusing things and all this stuff. I face personally lots of challenges in telling people these all things and making people aware about it. So how to deal with both of the things from this stage only?
Okay, let's start with the first one. Let's not really go and tell others. Don't preach, as they say. Do it. See, now, I am not trying to preach. I'm just trying to share my experience, because nowadays people are asking, so I share. But nowhere, if somebody is not following this. For example, I've told many people how bad air travel is. Last 6-8 years, I've been doing a lot of second-class train. I've also come to Gujarat. I've come to Surat and Baroda, and all by train, second-class train. But then I can afford to do that. Not everyone is not able to. I've been trying to say I don't want to stay in hotels. Maybe I can do it. Maybe most people can't. So all that one is talking about the second part, Hetvi, is that just do what one can do. Coming to the first part about that, it's back into again that what happens between the faculty and the students. So I would just leave it at that level, more like having answered the earlier one. So the faculty may have their opinions about how a building should be. Maybe at their age, they think it's too early to discuss. But tomorrow, Hetvi, you are in the 7th semester, you'll be passing out. Well, maybe you'll be able to get a project, and in that project, you'll be able to maybe do land earth. Why not? Nobody's going to stop you if you get a owner to do that. Sankalp and others in Hyderabad, in Ahmedabad are doing great job. And there are people doing great job in many, many parts of Gujarat. Hundarshala, of course, is the best example everybody gives. Yatin Pandya, I believe, is coming in tomorrow to address the students. So a lot of people have done great work there. And Gujarat is embodied. Gujarat has a wide range of vernacular architecture, very wide. Just pick up and go on.
Hundarshala is really a very good example. I used to go there and learn a lot. And also in Ahmedabad, there is lots of vernacular form of Yatin sir and Hitendra Kalyan.
Absolutely. So inshallah, you will be able to do more of it. I'm using inshallah also try with Hundarshala. But anyway, Ibrahim is around here. So inshallah, all of you are listening to these 2 days discussion would be able to go far in your life, being more sensitive.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. So with this, our expert talk ends. So.
All right. So yes, my good wishes to everybody. I'm waving at people whom I can't see. But anyway, have a great time.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Shall I leave the meeting? Should I? Or you are going to close?
No, sir. We'll be telling them this last instruction, and then we'll be ending the meeting. Sir.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize.
No, yes, sir. So to all the attendees, so kindly share your feedbacks by taking out your smartphone and scanning this QR code. You'll be there'll be a link which would appear, and then you can click that link. You will get a form, and then you can fill back your feedback. So kindly do this. And also to all the participants, our next program would be an open dialogue on the topic changing demands on education in the 21st century. We'll be having Mahesh Bangad in conversation with Professor Krishna Rao Jason. Thank you, everyone.